President Biden faces new pressure to end his campaign, including from Oscar winner George Clooney, calling on the 81-year-old to step aside. Tonight, Democrats worry about the future of the presidency.
I am deeply concerned about Joe Biden winning this November because it is an existential threat to the country if Donald Trump wins.
Our new reporting is the top House Democrat plans to convey concerns directly to the president. The CBS Evening News starts now. Democratic calls for President Biden to drop out of the race stretch from Capitol Hill to Hollywood tonight. Good evening, I'm Nora O'Donnell, and thank you for being with us. The word blockbuster is normally used to describe a box office hit, but today, one of the biggest movie stars, George Clooney, dropped a political blockbuster in the form of a New York Times editorial, writing, that even though he is a lifelong Democrat and loves Joe Biden, quote, our party leaders need to stop telling us that 51 million people didn't see what we just saw, referring to the debate. And those party leaders are now under pressure from their own members to deliver a message to the president. All of this is clouding the NATO summit of world leaders right here in Washington, where the big news is that the first F-16 fighter jets are on their way to Ukraine to fend off Russian forces. We have team coverage tonight. CBS's Ed O'Keefe is at the White House, and we begin with CBS's Scott MacFarlane on Capitol Hill.
The political ground is wobbling beneath President Biden, one of the biggest tremors from one of America's biggest stars. Weeks after appearing side by side at a fundraiser, actor George Clooney split with the president. Writing in a blistering editorial for the New York Times, I love Joe Biden, but we need a new nominee. Adding, when he saw the president 3 weeks ago, he wasn't even the Joe Biden of 2020. He was the same man we all witnessed at the debate. Another quake on cable TV this morning.
It's up to the president to decide if he is going to run. We're all encouraging him to make that decision because time is running short.
Former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi wants a decision, but President Biden has already made his stance clear.
I'm staying in the race.
But speaking later with reporters, she declined to press harder.
The decision is the president's.
At the NATO summit in Washington, the president, posing with top European leaders, was asked about the comments from Pelosi, his longtime ally.
Is Nancy Pelosi still behind you, sir?
But at nearly the same time, another U.S. House Democrat, New York's Pat Ryan, today publicly urged the president to end his campaign. CBS News has learned House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries, who's been hearing complaints from many in his caucus, says he'll share those concerns with the president himself by Friday. Democrats who've already defected wouldn't say if or how many others are poised to join.
Has anybody joined you or expressed interest in joining you in your call for the president to withdraw?
I don't have anything to say about this.
CBS News has confirmed Senate Democrats have scheduled a closed-door meeting with the president's campaign team tomorrow.
I think that we could lose the whole thing, and it's staggering to me.
After Michael Bennet of Colorado became the first Democratic senator to publicly predict the president could lose in a landslide. Two senior Democrats tell CBS News the Biden campaign could face financial problems. With concerns about the president's health and wavering Democratic support, campaign donations could dry up in a race that could cost hundreds of millions of dollars. Nora.
Scott MacFarlane, thank you so much for your reporting. It is hard to overstate how critical this week is for the president's reelection campaign. So let's bring in CBS's Ed O'Keefe. And Ed, it seems like each day brings more troubling signs for the Biden campaign. What are your sources telling you?
Well, Nora, as a senior campaign official put it to me, quote, there's no question this is the toughest moment we've had of this campaign. And here's why George Clooney's opinion matters. You might be thinking, why do I care? Well, look, he's someone who spent personal time with the president just over 3 weeks ago and noticed his decline, having met with him several times in years past. So he's a well-known character witness for many voters concerned about President Biden's age. As for Nancy Pelosi's strong suggestion that Biden rethink his future, that's signaling that she's hearing real concern from fellow congressional Democrats, big party donors, and other party leaders. And it also gives others an opening to speak up. And she's one of the few party leaders the president listens to regularly and whose opinion he values.
And Ed, a big test tomorrow for the president. His first solo press conference in nearly 8 months. What's at stake?
Oh, Nora, another big moment that all of Washington and skeptical voters nationwide will be watching closely. They want to see how he does in his next big unscripted moment, where he'll once again take numerous questions and be forced to think on his feet. If he handles it well, that could hold off more detractors. If he doesn't, the floodgates might open. Nora?
Ed O'Keefe from the White House, thank you. Turning now to the blistering heat gripping the country, including Texas, where more than 1 million people are still without power for the third straight day. CBS's Omar Villafranca reports from Houston, where frustrations are growing.
Tonight in the Lone Star State, hundreds of cars lined up for several blocks to pick up needed supplies. The heat index hit 100 degrees today in Houston, where residents are rushing to distribution centers for food, water, and ice.
We have no food right now, nothing, zero.
The punishing heat is overwhelming a region still recovering from Hurricane Beryl. More than 1 million customers in and around Houston are still without electricity for a third day.
Is the criticism you guys are receiving, is it fair in your mind?
In my mind, it's not. We take a tremendous amount of pride in preparing for events such as this. And, I think we've done really great work.
CenterPoint Energy rolled out a new map to check the progress of restoration after customers were using a Whataburger fast food app to track outages near them. Cities from coast to coast are feeling the burn. In Portland, Oregon, Julio Lopez with Meals on Wheels is delivering fans to people with no AC.
I just want to make sure that you drink plenty of water. If you're feeling, really tired or sleepy, you might be dehydrated.
At least 6 suspected heat-related deaths have been reported there as temperatures skyrocketed into the triple digits over the weekend. Back in Houston, some Texans escaped the severe heat and humidity at local cooling centers.
Did you try to rough it out?
We did try to rough it out. I'm not going to lie, we did.
What happened?
It just got too hot.
Cooling centers like this one stay busy during the day, but they close at night and people have to go elsewhere. CenterPoint Energy just told us that they reached their goal of restoring power to more than 1 million customers by today, but full restoration for more than 1 million other customers, that could take weeks. Nora?
Oh, that is tough. Omar, thank you for all your reporting. For more on these scorching temperatures, let's bring in CBS Philadelphia's chief meteorologist, Bill Kelly. Good evening, Bill.
Yeah, Nora, that heat out west, absolutely extreme. All 10 states, from the coast over to, say, parts of Colorado, under some kind of heat advisory, excessive heat warning. How about 116 here in Phoenix, 118 in Las Vegas, even Medford, Oregon, into the triple digits. And not on this map, but Death Valley, how about 127 tomorrow, excessive heat to say the least. I'm walking over to the eastern seaboard because we've been under a heat wave here as well. Tomorrow, Philadelphia, for example, the 8th day in a row with 90 degrees or greater. D.C. going to be at 90 degrees, getting a little cooler though. New York, Boston, 89 degrees, but that is going to come at a cost. And the cost that we're dealing with is the threat for severe weather. Tonight, check this out, up and down I-95. That is where the severe weather risk is. Damaging winds, isolated tornadoes, and the potential for flash flooding. And on that point, the greatest risk for flash flooding going to be in upstate New York, the Adirondacks, cutting over to Vermont and New Hampshire. So if you see a flood, as the phrase goes, turn around, don't drown. Nora?
Bill Kelly, thank you. Alec Baldwin was in a New Mexico courtroom today as testimony got underway in his involuntary manslaughter trial over the deadly shooting on the set of his Western movie, Rust. Baldwin's attorney says he was just an actor acting when the gun went off, while prosecutors suggest Baldwin acted recklessly. CBS's Elise Preston is at the courthouse in Santa Fe.
He pointed the gun at another human being.
High drama as prosecutors laid out their case against actor Alec Baldwin.
The evidence will show that someone who played make-believe with a real gun and violated the cardinal rules of firearm safety is the defendant, Alexander Baldwin.
Baldwin listened intently, taking notes as his family looked on during opening statements.
It was just a prop. The gun has to be safe before it gets into the actor's hands.
Movie set safety rules require actors, like the defendant, to never point a firearm at another person.
No one had any idea that this venomous, toxic element had been inserted into this magic they were creating. But it did, and it changed lives forever.
Jurors today saw video from the crucial moments after cinematographer Helena Hutchins was gravely wounded.
Can you open your eyes for me?
Baldwin has maintained his innocence, saying he never pulled the trigger. His defense attorney put all the blame on those in charge of firearms on the film set, using the one phrase that could become crucial to this case.
The prop gun was placed in Mr. Baldwin's hands and cold gun was announced.
When you hear the words cold gun as an actor, it's not only that you don't expect a live round, but you expect no round.
Now, the gun used was also introduced into evidence. Throughout the day, the jury was very attentive and took notes. If convicted, Baldwin faces up to 18 months in prison. Nora?
Thank you to our CBS News teams from around the globe. Eye on America is next with a look at why the battery is in charge when it comes to renewable energy. With an intense heat wave now baking much of the country, power grids from coast to coast are being stretched to their limits. The good news, the growth of renewable energy like solar and wind means there's more power available. But as CBS's Ben Tracy shows us in tonight's Eye on America, the renewable revolution will require a lot of batteries.
Did you ever think you'd be working next to solar panels all day?
I did not. It's a much more peaceful environment.
Rachel Harper used to work in the oil and gas industry in Texas.
And now you're in renewable energy.
Yes, big pivot.
Do you like this better?
I like this way better.
She's now at a startup in California called B2U. It takes the still usable batteries out of older electric vehicles, slides them into large racks,
Plug and play. Simple as that.
and then plugs them into solar panels so they can store solar power.
We're basically a retirement home for these EV batteries.
You're basically just using these as storage.
Yes, battery storage.
Battery storage is what allows renewable energy to provide power even when the sun isn't shining or the wind isn't blowing. It's key to making the electrical grid reliable as we transition away from coal and gas and their planet-warming emissions. Batteries can also help keep the lights on when heat waves like the one roasting the West this week batter the grid.
It's like the Swiss Army knife of the electricity sector.
As Director of Energy Storage and Systems at UC San Diego, Mike Ferry is at the forefront of battery technology.
So this is where we're really inventing the next generation of batteries.
He says batteries are getting better and costs are dropping. That's allowed California to install more than 10,000 megawatts of battery storage, equivalent to the output of about 5 nuclear power plants. California and Texas account for nearly all of the battery storage in the nation and have more than any other country except for China.
This year, 81% of all new capacity on our national grid is going to be solar and storage. And these two technologies go hand in hand, sort of like chocolate and peanut butter.
Nationwide, solar power is the fastest growing form of renewable energy, but still accounts for only about 5% of electricity generated. In California, it's nearly 30%, thanks to massive new projects like this one in the Mojave Desert. Its 2 million panels near Edwards Air Force Base can be seen from space.
These are all full of batteries?
They're all full of batteries, as many as we can put in them.
Gus Luna is Chief Development Officer for TerraGen, which built the more than 4,000-acre site, now the largest solar storage facility in the country, enough to power about 250,000 homes.
This really is what's going to make renewable energy work.
Correct. Without this, I think renewable energy would hit a limit fairly quickly.
California, the 5th largest economy in the world, aims to run on 100% renewable energy by 2045.
You'll probably need something like another 20, maybe 30 more of these projects to be able to reach that.
Because to truly make all those panels and turbines work, you need batteries included. For Eye on America, I'm Ben Tracy in the Mojave Desert.
That's the future. An international airport is evacuated after these grenades were found in a passenger's carry-on. We've got the details next.
Tonight's Eye on America is sponsored by Prudential, protecting retirement and your life's work. Who's your rock?
Tense moments at an international airport in Hawaii when the TSA found 2 grenades in a passenger's carry-on. The airport in Hilo was briefly cleared out while a bomb squad determined the grenades were inert and contained no explosives. But even having replicas of explosives in a carry-on is illegal. And the man from Japan was arrested for terroristic threatening. Now, this consumer alert. BMW is recalling nearly 400,000 cars in the U.S. because they may have Takata airbag inflators that can explode, shooting metal fragments into the vehicle. The recall impacts some 3 Series sedans and sports wagon models made between 2006 and 2012. The discount retail chain Big Lots says it will close up to 40 stores this year, raising concerns that it may declare bankruptcy. The Ohio-based company, which has more than 1,300 stores, tells federal regulators it has substantial doubt it can continue as a functioning business. It's not clear which Big Lots stores will be shut down. Heart of America is next with a 96-year-old who proves the sky's the limit when it comes to your dreams.
If you can't watch the CBS Evening News, you can listen. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
Finally, tonight's Heart of America, meet 96-year-old Evelyn Kidd of St. Louis. She has loved flying ever since she met her late husband, Gene, who was a Navy aircraft mechanic. In between raising their 2 kids, they spent many years flying in the skies above Missouri. She logged her flying hours, but never got around to getting her pilot's license. Well, last month, Evelyn got a surprise from a senior living center, which granted her wish to go flying in a Cessna again. Evelyn told us it was just like old times.
And so I got to go flying. And we flew over the Mississippi River and over the Arch and over in Illinois, and it was a great trip. I could see the Missouri and the Mississippi River where they came together. He even offered me to fly, but I took a rain check.
Evelyn Kidd, flying high, and tonight's Heart of America. And that's tonight's CBS Evening News. I'm Norah O'Donnell. Good night.